Namaskar, good evening. You're watching Briefing Room and I'm Swati Joshi. Wherever you're living across the world, the ongoing conflict in West Asia has certainly pinched your pockets. Back in India, the government shielded public for weeks from the ongoing disruption in the global energy supply chain. But now the prices have begun to creep up slowly but steady. After oil companies hiked prices of domestic LPG cylinders, the government has now slashed the LPG cylinder quota under the Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala scheme. Remember, this was a flagship scheme that was launched by the Modi government in the year 2016 to provide LPG connections to women below the poverty line. But today, the government has slashed this quota down from 9 cylinders per year to 4 LPG cylinders per year. 9 cylinders was already a scale down, remember, from the initial launch of the scheme. Here's what we are talking about. Let's break down the details for you. So this scheme, the Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala scheme, was launched in May 2016, and back then, as per the scheme in 2016, 12 cylinders were per year allotted to the beneficiaries. They were entitled to 12 cylinders per year. Then August 2025, it was reduced from 12 cylinders per year to 9. The quota was reduced and only 9 cylinders per year was given to the beneficiaries in August 2025. Cut to the current situation, 8th of June 2026, when the government has taken measures to reduce that quota from 9 to 4, now 4 cylinders per year, is what the beneficiaries of the Ujjwala scheme are going to get. Let's now tell you how much more burden is this going to add on the pockets of the Aam Aadmi. The reason why the opposition is hitting out at the Modi government, saying that this is nothing but a betrayal of the poor family. So let's tell you all about the cost that you will have to pay, how this is going to affect your pocket. So let me first break down the details. As far as the scheme is concerned, so if you are a beneficiary under the Ujjwala scheme, then the price for you as per the Ujjwala scheme is going to be 642. But if you look at the unsubsidized or the actual price, so the actual price that one will have to pay after the quota is over is going to be 942. And how many beneficiaries are we actually talking about here? We are talking about 10.55 crore beneficiaries. So for the first 4 cylinders per year that the quota has now been reduced to, the price is going to be 642. 300 rupees is going to be given to the beneficiaries. And if you were to pay the actual price, then for the actual price, the money that you will have to shell out of your pocket is going to be 942, and 10.55 crore beneficiaries of the Ujjwala scheme are going to be impacted. Now, this is what the opposition is highlighting, saying this is how the Modi government first came up with the scheme and said that they are working for the poor families, poor women especially, and took a lot of pride in this flagship scheme of theirs. But now the Modi government is fooling poor families, especially the women, and this is how the burden on their pocket is going to increase. So the question does arise, why did the government then slash the number of cylinders that come under the scheme? Here's what the government says on record. This is their reasoning. The government maintains that the average consumption of Ujjwala households is only 4 cylinders per year as per them. This 300 rupees subsidy stays in place for 4 refills, and this will benefit the existing 10.5 crore beneficiaries. Government maintains that the cooking gas prices in India are still among the lowest in the world. So they are drawing a comparison between what's happening in other part of the world and what is happening here in India. Further, the government also maintains that the OMCs are still losing about 700 rupees on each LPG refill for a 14.2 kg cylinder. The government says Ujjwala beneficiaries are still receiving a discount of 60%, and the refill price remains at 642 rupees for the Ujjwala beneficiaries for the four cylinders, the first 4 cylinders, which is the quota that has been allotted to them.
पूरे विश्व में खाड़ी के युद्ध के कारण एक संकट है, लेकिन प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में आज भी भारत में कोई संकट नहीं है पेट्रोल, डीजल, एलपीजी का। वहां 25% रेट बढ़ा है भारत के अलावा अन्य देशों में, यहां तो 5-4 रुपए ही बढ़ा है।
So you see how the government is justifying their move, saying that the reason behind it is one, of course, the escalating situation in West Asia and how still the beneficiaries here in India, especially of the Ujjwala scheme, are paying far less than what's happening in the other part of the world. And this is just about the losses that the government and the OMCs are making. Government sources tell Times Now that another major reason to lower the number of cylinders under the LPG subsidy is also to curb cylinder diversion. As per top government sources, there were some elements, unscrupulous elements, that were diverting these cylinder refills and they were being sent for commercial usage. So these cylinders that were meant to benefit the poor and those below the poverty line were reportedly being diverted for commercial use. Government sources suggest this move has also been done to stop that diversion of subsidized LPG cylinders and is hence capping the number to just 4 cylinders. This is after all the average number of refills that Ujjwala beneficiaries utilize as per the government. The fact of the matter is, while the number of subsidized cylinders will be reduced, the subsidy is not done away with altogether. They will continue to pass on the benefit to the beneficiaries of the Ujjwala scheme. And ultimately, the cost of the LPG cylinders are still a lot lower than across other nations. Let's give you a breakdown of the data that the government is citing. And this is the comparative analysis. If you look at the prices in India versus what's happening, like I said, in the other part of the world. So in India, as per the Ujjwala scheme, the beneficiaries have to pay 642. The rate of the unsubsidized cylinder is 942. But let's take a look at what's happening in Pakistan. And this is the price of the cylinder, 1046. If you were living in Nepal, you would have been paying 1207 rupees. If you were a resident, a citizen of Bangladesh at this point of time, then you would have been paying 1225 rupees. In Sri Lanka, the price at the moment, the current rate is 1241. And these are the numbers that the government is citing to say that Indians, whether they are beneficiaries or not of the Ujjwala scheme, are still paying far less than the citizens of these other countries. Over the course of the day, Times Now has also had a word with some of the beneficiaries and those who are directly affected by the cuts in the number of the quota, the subsidized cylinders. Here's how the Aam Aadmi has reacted to the development.
अगर 4 सिलेंडर में अगर 6 आदमी घर पे रहेंगे तो वो कैसा चलेगा? अगर माँ बाप हो गए, बूढ़े माँ बाप हो गए, उनको तो दवाई देनी पड़ती है, तो खाना परोसना पड़ता है, तो गैस चालू रखते हैं। अब साल में 4 सिलेंडर देंगे तो उसमें कैसा होएगा? फिर वो तो मुसीबत ही हो जाएंगी ना हम लोग लेडीज के लिए। 12 मिलते थे, अभी 4 ही मिलेंगे तो बहुत ही दिक्कत होगी और किसी भी लेडीज को ये संभालना बहुत मुश्किल है। और वैसे 930 रुपया सिलेंडर का है जी, तो वो भी इतना सारा खर्चा रहता घर में और वो सिलेंडर में एक महीने में, एक साल में अभी 4 ही मिलेंगे तो साल में कितने लगेंगे? तो वो हिसाब से बहुत ही महंगा है, बहुत मुश्किल है।
कम से कम 6 तो चाहिए, तभी तो होगा, नहीं तो पॉसिबल नहीं, क्योंकि एक के घर में गीजर होगा या नहीं वो मालूम नहीं। पानी तो उबल के पीना होता है कंपल्सरी, इसके लिए नहीं होना चाहिए, ये तो नहीं होता है। और सुबह के टाइम में तो किचन बनाने में प्रॉब्लम हो जाता है, नहीं तो और भी इसके लिए चाहिए और कुछ नहीं है।
It's little difficult to survive on these rates because of war situation and I'm not a housewife, but I can relate to this situation because every household have these particular gas and cylinder kind of things. So government should think about it. They should give some more discount and subsidies on it because people who do not live on the subsidies, it is very difficult for them.
अब ये युद्ध के वजह से ही ऐसी सिचुएशन बनी हुई है जिससे देश में, पूरे देश में माहौल का बिगड़ा हुआ है। ठीक है, अब ये जब तक युद्ध चलेगा तब तक तो ये स्थिति डाउन ही रहेगी। देश इस पे और विदेशी सरकार भी और हर कोई अपने देश, अपने स्तर से इस युद्ध को खत्म कराने में लगा हुआ है ताकि सुचारू रूप से सारी सुविधाएं मिल सके लोगों को।
ये चीज़ें कहीं ना कहीं गलत तो हैं ही, मगर करना पड़ता है, सरकार को मजबूरियां हैं कुछ। आप देख ही सकते हैं कि पूरे विश्व में जो संकट आया हुआ है, हॉर्मुज का संकट, ये भारत को सबसे ज़्यादा जो है चोट पहुंचा रहा है, क्योंकि हमारा 80% जो आयात है, जो गैस का आयात है, वो बाहर से होता है, ज़्यादातर कतर या फिर कुवैत से होता है। तो इससे हमारे संकट जो है गहराए हैं।
इस समय आर्थिक संकट से पूरा विश्व जूझ रहा है, उससे लड़ने के लिए अब आप मुफ्त की रेवड़ियाँ खाना चाहें तो ये सरासर गलत है। रही बात सिलेंडर पे 25 रुपए, 50 रुपए, 100 रुपए तक की जो सब्सिडी मिलती थी मान लीजिए बंद हो गई तो हाँ फर्क पड़ेगा, लेकिन एक बड़े हित के कारण हमें छोटे छोटे सेक्रीफाइसेस जो हमने हमेशा से सीखे हैं अपने इतिहास की किताबों से और अपने इतिहास से, वो करना पड़ेगा.
So while people are saying that yes, the going is going to be difficult for them, there are others who are saying that the situation in West Asia is escalating, and we understand how India heavily relies on import, and that's the reason why this burden is going to come onto us. The tensions in Middle East have affected energy prices across the world, while the rise in costs have been minimal in India as compared to several other developed nations. The war is pinching the common man's pockets. Here's how prices of energy supplies have risen in the past 1 month. It includes petrol, it includes diesel, CNG, commercial LPG and domestic LPG as well. So the price of petrol has increased by around 7 rupees 38 paise. Diesel has become expensive by 7 rupees 53 paise per litre. As far as CNG is concerned, it has become expensive by 6 rupees per kg. Commercial LPG has become expensive by 1,373.5 rupees and domestic LPG is expensive by 89 rupees per cylinder. So this is how the energy supplies have been impacted, and the reason you see price rise is because of the escalating situation in West Asia. And naturally, the opposition has questioned the centre over the subsidy cut. Rahul Gandhi asks whether the burden of the government's failures will only be borne by the poor of the country. Others in the opposition say this is akin to a punishment to the poor women of the country and accuses the government of working only for the rich. Listen in.
When you look at the numerous promises that have been made over the last dozen years, all we have are big announcements, grand statements and headlines, but the sorry reality is that none of those headlines actually translate into anything that is meaningfully transforming the lives of the people.
They were taking pride in it. I don't know why they have done that. The government should do something with the people. The government is there to support people, particularly poor people. But this government doesn't care about it.
उज्ज्वला सिलेंडर जो मैं समझता हूँ कि किसी को मिल भी नहीं पा रहा था, वादे तो बहुत बड़े बड़े कर रहे थे, आज उसमें भी इन्होंने खुद से इसको एक्सेप्ट कर लिया है कि अब साल में सिर्फ 4 सिलेंडर जो है उज्ज्वला के, जिन लोगों को इन्होंने उज्ज्वला सिलेंडर दिया था वो बेचारे भरवा कहाँ पा रहे हैं. मैं समझता हूँ ये सरकार सिर्फ लोगों को बहकाने और छल करने का काम करती है.
All right, let's go across to our guests. We have Tushar Gupta, political analyst, and Chirag Sethi, spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party, joining us in the broadcast. Thank you very much for joining us. Good evening to both of you. Chirag Sethi, the government says that one obvious reason, of course, is the situation which is only escalating in West Asia, and we don't know when that's going to end and situation is going to normalize. The other thing that the government says is that domestic LPG was being diverted for commercial use, and to curb that as well, they have decided to cut subsidy. Although 4 LPG cylinders as per the scheme will be given to the beneficiaries of Ujjwala, and if you compare it to the rest of the world, we are still paying less.
Swati, first of all, the comparison that they given was from the Ujjwala scheme, which was 642, which is only 10 crore, the 10 crore connections and not the total 33 crores. We just want to understand one thing, that when the Prime Minister says there is no problem, we are managing everything, how come suddenly the companies are losing money? How come suddenly this crisis has come? If you see the data, the average is 4.85 cylinders for PM Ujjwala beneficiaries. Why 4.85? Because they're already facing the heat. They already cannot buy the cylinders. They're in an urban setup. The average number of cylinder usage is between 7 to 10. PM Ujjwala is already, people are using less gas because they can't afford to buy a cylinder. Once you're putting it down from 9 to 4, you're pushing them back into the ages of wood burning and gobar burning so that they go back to the same traditional old schemes. If you see, the demand for LPG has dropped down from 90,000 tons to 72,000 tons from May to June. Why that has happened? Because people now don't want to spend money. They don't have money. Okay. Now the government needs to come open and say, yes, we messed up. This is the problem. Please make sure that you save things.
But Mr. Sethi, one thing is clear, that the crisis has happened all of a sudden because of the war in West Asia. And at no point the government said everything is hunky-dory. They said, yes, it's a critical situation and we're trying to manage.
Agreed. If all of this has happened and everybody has to shell out more, why can't the government cut down on the GST? Why do you have to implement 5% GST on LPG? The GST amount in Delhi is 45 rupees. You can cut that down. You don't take taxes from LPG for once. Leave that money. You have made enough money during the COVID times, after the COVID times, when the LPG was cheaper at $50,000 per ton. You have made your money. This is the time to give back to the people. You
And that applies to the state governments. See, to an extent, that applies to the state governments as well, to provide the relief that the state governments can do. I want to bring in Tushar Gupta. Tushar Gupta, Mr. Chirag Sethi is asking why all of a sudden. Now, we do know that the government says that these companies are losing 700 rupees per cylinder. They are also alleging this is a betrayal of the poor families. This is a scheme that the government took a lot of pride in, and the first ones to betray are those very poor families.
No, keeping the fiscal ignorance of the arguments just made aside, let's be very clear. There is a problem in the Strait of Hormuz. We have a supply side problem right now. There is not enough LPG coming into the Indian market, or rather the global market. It's the same story for crude also. It's the same story for piped natural gas also. This is not a domestic crisis. This is a global energy crisis. Anyone who wants to live in denial people on the ground, commercial or retail.
Okay, Tushar, that's a really bad audio. You're not audible. We're not able to make sense.
We also have
okay, now you're audible.
The OMCs and about the OMCs losing money, but we have to. Okay, am I audible now?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm saying the government is also immuning the OMCs from the losses they're making, not only on the LPG front, but also on the crude front. Number 3, we are talking about 4 Ujjwala cylinders a year. I know it's not a great number, but this is a temporary measure. No one is saying that this is going to be permanent. Once the crisis in Hormuz settles, once the supply chains are back to normal, once the LPG supplies are back to normal within the country, this number can be increased. This is not a permanent degradation. It's a temporary measure because LPG is being black marketed. Poor people are being, selling their LPG to probably commercial outlets and things like that are happening. It's human nature. The government can't really help it. So it's a temporary measure. It shouldn't be looked upon as a permanent measure. That is very, very important.
Chirag, you want to comment? Go ahead.
Yes, because when it was reduced from 12 to 9, it never went up. The government only knows how to take it away. They never give it back. We have to understand this scheme was given to the poorest of the poor. People who are below the poverty line, people who are the BPL card holders. They're not the people who can afford. We're talking about 33 crore people who have LPG connections. Out of those, 10 crores who were given this subsidy that they can go and at least make food on the LPG connections. Now, when you're pushing them back into the same era from where they have been out, from 12 cylinders, you've gone to 9. From 9, you've come down to 4. Now, what do you want? The next would be you can say, okay, now you will not get a cylinder. What will the person do? You will not be able to buy LPG because it's expensive. You're going to go back to your old roots where you're going to be burning wood, you're going to be burning.
Is that not resorting to fear mongering? That would, that statement would create panic to say that you will not be able to buy LPG. It is not going to be available from 4 cylinders. It is going to be nil. It's going to be nil. That's generating panic. Has the government said that? On the other hand, they're also saying that we are trying to boost our LPG production. So it's not like doomsday has arrived.
Swati, I am not saying all of that. It's the government who is saying all of that. The government was the one who was done from 12 to 9.
When did the government say कि LPG आपको मिलेगी नहीं, zero हो जाएगा 4 से?
So 9 to 4, why they have done it from 9 to 4 cylinders? When their own data says that the average utilization is 4.85. And even on your channel, all the people who are the beneficiaries, you spoke to them, everybody said at least 6 cylinders, at least 1 cylinder every 2 months.
Okay. But you also must have heard those who said कि ये अचानक से हुआ, it's because of the crisis in West Asia, मुफ्त की रेवड़ी आप कब तक लेंगे? Although I don't see it that way, but there are people who feel कि situation ऐसी है तो you'll have to adjust. There'll be measures taken by the government and we'll all have to, face that. Tushar wants to come in.
Yes. No, this is not just about the poor people. Somehow this is being confused for an issue that is only impacting people below the poverty line. It is an issue that is impacting Chirag Sethi also, who's paying for more for fuel because there is a crisis in Hormuz. It's impacting Swati also, who has to pay more for fuel because there is a supply side crisis. It's impacting everyone. Let's not single out that, oh, the government is only acting against poor people. Look at the commercial outlets. They are paying more for LPG, the ones running the eateries, the ones running the restaurants. Look at the stock markets. Even the market capitalization is suffering because of the volatility in the Persian Gulf. So let's not make it about poor and the government going against the poor. The government is trying to shield everyone. This includes you, this includes me, this includes the poor people who gets a cylinder every single month. But the 4 cylinders for the next 4 months may suffice. We have to look at the situation as very agile. This is not a permanent measure. That is what I'm saying again and again. Who knows, 3 months from now, you have the Hormuz open, the LPG supplies are back, and the number will be increased again. But right now to think this is only about the poor people, only about the gas cylinders, that's a very incorrect interpretation.
Go ahead, Mr. Sethi. It's impacting you and me. It's impacting a whole lot of other people. It's not just the Ujjwala beneficiaries.
Swati, if you have to go back in the past and see retrospectively, this government has never reduced the price on fuel. They've always taken those. They've always increased the excise duty. When the crude oil price fell down to $19 per barrel, then also you were getting the petrol at the same price. They have accumulated about 43 lakh crores. And leave that, the companies, the oil marketing companies have made 3,50,000 crores. The last year profit was only 77,000 crores. We are not saying that you are comparing yourself to US or Australia. There you have differential pricing. There you even have dynamic pricing where the fuel price also go down. In India, the fuel price doesn't go down. When the fuel price is down, the excise duties go up. The government makes money. The oil companies make money.
So the first hike in the situation happened after how many years?
So I am comparing apple to apple. When it was $19.
No, since you're talking about the hike, I'm saying this first hike that we witnessed during the crisis happened after how many years?
After the Bengal election, when the election happened.
No, that's not what I meant. That's not what I meant, Tushar. After how many years?
No, this has not happened, until recently. And to answer Chirag's question, firstly, that figure of 43 lakh crore is absolutely incorrect. He's only right about the profit. He's not right about the revenue streams. Number 2, again, he's going on the incorrect tangent where he's saying that the government has taken money from the consumers, so it's time to pay back. Understand the fiscal prudence measures here. The fiscal deficit at 4.4% despite the government, absorbing 5 external shocks in the last 6 years, from the pandemic to this war in between, the Russia-Ukraine war and the tariff war and the supply chain crisis. Do not look at this episode in isolation. That is what I'm trying to tell you. About the excise duty, can the Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson tell me what has the Punjab state government done to reduce the excise duty, reduce VAT on petrol and diesel? Absolutely nothing. The centre still slashed the excise duty on diesel to 0, on petrol to ₹3, cutting it by ₹10. What has the state government got?
Very quickly, I have to wrap up, but very quickly, Mr. Sethi, what about state governments?
Yes, you should do it. I am saying in Punjab.
Then you should lead by example as well.
Yes, again,
then you should do
Bihar
it.
is 113 rupees per litre.
What about tree?
See, now you get into which state has how much VAT and excise. But lead by example.
You lead by example. Lead by example.
The other states
understand there is a crisis. You are the one who's saying
that is exactly what the Indian government is also saying. We are still cheaper if you compare it to the other countries, and you're doing the same thing. That it's still cheaper in Punjab if you compare it to other states. So if nobody is willing to extend that benefit, then all that we're doing at the end of the day is just pointing fingers at each other. Tushar and Mr. Sethi, that's all the time I have. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us on the broadcast.